So then to the final championship of this week of title races in Lisbon in Portugal, the men's elite road race, 20 laps of the circuit, 242 kilometres, almost 180 starters, and surely a grandstand finish to what's been a great week of racing so far. One of the Kazakhstanis making an easy move, Karat Bagudinov. Still 17 laps to go, and very little chance of him staying clear, but there's always one who wants to make a name for himself and test his legs in the early stages of any major race, and why not? The Kazakhstani then making hay, not quite whilst the sun shines, because we've got a little bit of an overcast start to the race, although the forecast says the sun might come out a little bit later on. Bagudinov then making the most of the early stages of the race, when a lot of the big riders will be keeping their powder dry for a little bit later on, and so the Kazakhstani getting the cheers, the applause of the Portuguese and everybody else, whilst the peloton takes time to bed itself in, with a long way still to go. Even so, some riders finding it a little bit tough. Up one of the steep climbs, and the peloton coming up it fairly comfortably. A big peloton, and still almost all of the field pretty well together, apart from the Kazakhstani Kairat Bagudinov, still out in front. Well, Roman Sveinstein's, of course, the defending champion, and Sveinstein's would be delighted if he could win this title for another year, but so many riders hoping to finish this race first over the line. Erik Zabel, of course, the ace sprinter, if it should come to a sprint. Jan Ullrich, who won the Olympic title in Sydney just 12 months before. The current World Cup leader, Eric Decker. Former champion Oscar Freire, of course, who won the title in 1999. Laurent Brochard, the title winner in 97. Michele Bartoli, Paolo Bettini, the veteran Schmil, and other fancied riders, including Rebellin, the old warhorse Museo, and Casagrande, to mention but a few. The peloton then, still just a few seconds behind the Kazakhstani in the early stages of this title race. Another view of the peloton from the helicopter shot, going down one of the faster parts of the course, with Bagudinov of Kazakhstan now reeled in, and everybody back together again. Very dangerous in the early stages when the pressure is not on and the pace slackens off. Very easy to touch a wheel in front and crash. Riders have to be on their guard in a situation like this every second of the way. Well, now we move on and we find a little escape here from the Italian Danilo Di Luca, and from Spain, Angel Vicioso, and they've drawn out a little lead group. Richard Viron of France, recent winner of Paris Tour, also in this lead group. Viron just on the left of the little group, halfway down as they go through the finish line, and the clock showing that they've got a sizable little gap, but still a long way to go. The main peloton then coming across the line, around about 40 seconds or so in arrears of that lead group. It's going to be about 45, 46 seconds between them and the lead group, which was initiated, there's Jan Ullrich, which was initiated by Danilo Di Luca and Angel Vicioso. Well, this is 3 laps to go, and the peloton pretty well all together again. And Jan Ullrich deciding to attack, the time trial winner just a few days earlier, for the second time in 3 years. This is very much how Ullrich won the Olympic title in Sydney. But he seems to have just eased off a little over the top of the climb, maybe deciding that this is not quite the right mix for him. Well, these three riders, as you see, thanks to Jan Ullrich's efforts, seem to have a small lead. But Ullrich himself not very happy with that particular makeup, and so just relaxing a little and allowing the peloton to come back up to him. On one of the climbs again. We're inside the last 3 laps now. Just about 35 kilometres of the race remaining. And still anybody's race. The road's completely closed, as ever, of course, to all other traffic. The riders having the complete freedom of the circuit throughout these championships. And Ullrich having another go, and that's Richard Virenque of France, right on his wheel. Virenque, who's come back to professional racing after serving his ban for the Domo von Fritz team now, but of course in this occasion he's riding in his country's colours, the French jersey on his shoulders. Ullrich, of course, for Germany. Eric Decker very, very close behind them, the current World Cup leader, with one event to go, just the Tour of Lombardy remaining after these World Championships. Now this looks like one of the Italians. I think this is Gilberto Simoni. It is indeed Simoni, who of course won the Giro d'Italia earlier this summer. So Simoni very much a danger man, and I don't think that the peloton would like him to have too much leeway out in front. Simoni looking very strong, around about 2.5 laps to go. Well, we saw just how powerful his riding was in the Tour of Italy when he took a well-deserved victory after that 3-week race concluded in Milan. And the chase is on behind him, but he's really split things up a little bit here. Simoni has caused quite a panic back in the peloton as the Italian seeks to put distance between himself and the rest of the riders in this elite road race championship. But now the pack getting their act together, coming back to Simoni, and so it's all back to square one again. Another Italian trying to get attacks going, but everybody vigilant now, and this will be the pattern of the event now surely in these last 2 laps or so, as the attacks begin to come thick and fast and the weaker riders find it all too much. A long race, of course, 242 kilometres, as indeed a World Championship should always be. And Casagrande it was, not very happy that everybody came back to him, but what else did he expect? Over 6 hours of racing now as the riders come closer to the line, and there's still a strong group here of some 45 riders, and most of the sprinters are in there too. Zabel's there, Decker's there, Oscar Freire there, the former champion 2 years ago. Michele Bartoli is also there. Casagrande, of course, is still there. One of the Belgians wanting somebody else to take up the chase. And this is one of the Dutchmen going for it on the far side of the road as they come ever nearer to the finish now. Eric Decker, of course, wanting to win the World Cup as well as the world title. But they won't let him have too much leeway. Coming ever closer now to the finish. The Italians have got them all lined up there. There's 3 or 4 Italians towards the front of the group. Meantime, Roman Sveinstein's, the world champion, was not going to win the title for a second time because he's climbed off his bike, so he will not be in this finishing sprint at all, but it's certainly going to be a big sprint. Eric Zabel is there, Decker is there, Oscar Freire is there in roundabout 6th place as Decker takes it up. And watch this now as they come to the line. It's still Decker, but Freire has got a gap. I think if he can get through on the inside, Oscar Freire, who won this title in 1999, has found a gap on the inside, and he does it again. Oscar Freire from Bettini, I think it was, and Andre Hauptmann, a bit of a shock there for Slovenia, getting the bronze medal. But Oscar Freire just nailing that to take this road race for the second time in 3 years. Paolo Bettini just beaten on the line. As Oscar Freire said, it's important to come to these races with the right mentality, and I came here with the right attitude. These circuits, these types of circuits are perfect for me. I'm fast at the finish, and I can take advantage of a situation like that. Well, here you see Freire coming to the front as Decker went perhaps fractionally too early. The Italian Paolo Bettini just out of the picture, taking the silver, and the Slovenian Andre Hauptmann nicking a bronze medal ahead of Decker, and a tiring Eric Zabel in the closing stages. Well, can you believe it? Oscar Freire, who's had knee problems, back problems, he's on the podium as the world champion for the second time in 3 years to bring these title races to a wonderful conclusion.